An entrancing gospel we have today, this conversation between Jesus and a rich young man whom he looked at with love. A young man who walked away from Jesus with sadness in his heart because he possessed so much, could not dream of giving up what he owned. God gifted me today with a powerful parable. So then let me, 1, repeat the parable for you. 2, permit the parable to speak to you and me. And 3, suggest the pertinence of all this to the season that is upon us. First, the parable. It is a Jewish story, a typically powerful parable, especially in its unexpected ending. It runs like this. Once upon a time, 2 families came to a rabbi wanting him to settle a dispute about the boundaries of their land. He listened to the members of one family as they recounted how they had received this land as their inheritance from their ancestors and how it had been in their family for generations. They had maps and papers to prove it. Then the rabbi listened to the other family. Its members described how they had lived on the land for years, working it and harvesting it. They claimed that they knew the land intimately and that it was their land. They didn't have the papers to prove it, but they had the calluses and the sore backs and the harvest and the produce of the land. The rabbi looked at them both and backed away. They turned to him and said, "Decide, Rabbi, who owns this land?" But the rabbi knelt down on the land and put his ear to the ground, listening. Finally, he stood up and looked at both families. He said, "I had to listen to both of you, but I had also to listen to the land, the center of this dispute, and the land has spoken. It has told me this: neither one of you own the land you stand on. It is the land that owns you." This one stands us on our heads, forces us to see things from God's vantage point. Now let me stand on my head and look at the problem from God's point of view. Not what do I own, but one owns me. Spiritual writers used to insist that there's a peril in possessing almost anything: a child with a doll, a Saddam Hussein with limitless power. The peril? What they possess can possess them. The master becomes a slave, imprisoned by his or her possessions. Never underestimate the power of the evil one to turn the gift of God into an enslaving chain, and so cleverly that I pride myself on being in command. This leads quite naturally to my third point, the pertinence of all this to the season that is upon us, the season we call ordinary time. We can never live our Christian lives pretending that we have to wait for Easter to celebrate the resurrection. Our ordinary time should be for remembering. We must ceaselessly reproduce the journey of Jesus to Jerusalem, not only symbolically, but in our flesh and bones. Whether it's turning 21, 40, or 65, whether it's losing my health or my hair, a person I love or a possession I prize, whether it's as fleeting as applause or as abiding as grace, I have to move on. Whatever the land that owns me, I have to let go. Paul put it simply. He did not treat like a miser's booty his right to be like God, but emptied himself of it. When he breathed his last, he had given us everything he had to give. His pierced hands were empty. For your ordinary time, my brothers and sisters in Christ, let go.